So we have the Double or Nothing card has been completed. The Elite is sort of complete. They have returned at least, and injuries galore to talk about in this episode of AEW Dynamite for May 20th, 2020, and this year seems to just keep getting worse, but I think we might come out all right as far as this particular show. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Eric LaRoche here from That's Wrestling. Be sure to check this out over on YouTube. We do this show live on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. You can also find it as a podcast on all your favorite podcast apps. And if you are interested in being a co-host for anything New Japan related, shoot me an email, eric@thatswrestling.com. And with me tonight, I have Dustin West. How's it going, Dustin?
It is going great. I'm coming to you live from my living room in South Central Pennsylvania. We are just 2 short days away from Double or Nothing. This was the go-home show of Dynamite. I am very, very excited to talk about it. I thought it was a one-up from last week. Not that last week's was bad. I know we talked about our gripes, but this show was a step in the right direction to get the hype train rolling, and I'm ready to rock.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Double or Nothing as well. Even prior to this week's show, I thought they did a pretty good job at pushing forward, building the card actually really fast in like the span of like 2 weeks. So they did a really good job and kind of pushed everything where it needed to go. So just quickly, I want to touch on a couple of the matches that happened on AEW Dark on Tuesday night, or at least that were shown. There's 3 matches that kind of stood out. There was the Rey Fenix match, though I totally forget who he went up against. It was a really good match. Then we also had Hikaru Shida facing Danny Jordan. That was also a very good match. Danny Jordan is really good. I hope they sign her. They've been using her a bit more, and she was in the crowd for all of the shows that they taped at QT Marshall's place. So it seems like she might be at least on the way to getting signed to AEW at some point soon. And then Marko Stunt had a really good dark match on Dark as well. He took a vicious elbow to the face. It almost looked like his nose was broken, but it seems that he came out the other end all right. But his nose was bleeding, and after the match, the doctor did come over, and they when he tried to stand up, they're like, nope, lay back down on the mat. And he was a little out of it, but I think he came out just fine. But that was a really good match. Actually, Marko Stunt did win his match on Dark, so it was
good for him.
Very good match. So the first thing we start off is the Inner Circle is arriving in a limo, and Alex Marvez wants to get a word with him. Chris Jericho says, "Shut your ass, Marvez." And if you think what we did to Vanguard 1 was bad, wait until you see what we did to the Elite. They all have a few other words for Marvez. And something funny that I noticed, I don't know if anybody picked it up, but Ortiz stole Marvez's gold tie tack on the way out.
Yeah, I caught that too. I thought that was great. First off, I want to point out Jake Hager stepping out of that limousine looked like he was stepping out of a micro machine or a Hot Wheels car. It just the guy is just so massive.
Yeah, they more need like the limo SUV type of deal instead.
Yeah, it just looks so small, and like the first line that started anything from Chris Jericho, like you said, was just "shut your ass," which I was like, okay, I gotta laugh. It was great. I noticed stealing the little tie clip. It's really great the fact that you have this heel stable who no one is a champion, and you still have the guy Chris Jericho, the GOAT, calling himself the champion. This is still a group and a faction every week in and week out. The comedy they do, they can switch between comedy and seriousness to kicking your ass to making you laugh, and they do it so well, and they transition so well each and every week. So I thought this was a nice little way to start the show.
All right, so then we go to commentary. We have all the usual suspects. We have Excalibur, JR, and Tony Schiavone on commentary, and they give us the matches. So we have Sammy Guevara versus Matt Hardy. Jake the Snake and Arn Anderson will have a face-to-face, and then Orange Cassidy versus Fenix, Hikaru Shida and Kris Statlander versus Britt Baker and Nyla Rose, and MJF versus Marko Stunt. But we start off the night with 10 from the Dark Order versus Jon Moxley. Brodie Lee comes out at the beginning of this match. He's holding the title belt. He hands it off to one of his minions. He says he wants to address the people at home. I have to cut in real quick. Did you have audio issues right at the beginning of the show?
A little bit. Yeah, it was a little faint.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. But I could read his lips for a couple things that he said. We were pretty straightforward. There's a lot of joshing from the crowd. He tells them to be quiet. Adults are trying to speak now. And he says, 10, why don't you take a knee? Brodie Lee is not happy with his posture in this particular taking of a knee and yells at him to take a proper knee. So he adjusts and kind of like sits up straight a little bit. And then he says, now I understand that the viewer at home, there might be a disconnect because he is a powerful, supreme athlete in the prime of his career, at the top of his game, and they cannot relate to people at home. But that's where you're wrong. He says, do you think I don't sweat? I put my pants on the same way you do. I assure you, I cannot walk on water. I understand that as you look at me, it may be hard to fathom that I am no god. I am a man that has come into possession of a very special piece regarding the AEW title. The difference between the Dark Order then and the Dark Order now is that I operate at a higher level. I operate at an elite level. We are the Lions of AEW, and results speak for themselves. Now, the way I inspire these men and it inspires me, and come Saturday, I have to win, not only to satisfy my desire, but to pay off the loyalty and love of these men. Now 10. I always knew you were special. I picked you. This is your time to shine. You are now a high knight of the Dark Order. Rise, son, rise, and go hurt Jon Moxley for me. So I thought this was a really good promo. One thing that I wish they had put in is maybe push this match to the second match. And at the beginning of the show, I don't know if you've seen it, but the YouTube video for the Road to Double or Nothing.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw it, but there was a great little, it was just like a 2-minute thing. It was a sit down with Tony Schiavone and Brodie Lee. And it was excellent. And I wish they would have played that at the beginning of the show here. And Jon Moxley also had a promo on Road 2. That was, again, it was like a minute 30. They should have played that at the beginning of this because it really would have built it up even more, because both of them had very good performances in those promos, and that's just something that I wish they would have done because it would have helped even more.
Oh, I didn't even know they did those. Yeah, I saw the Double or Nothing video package, but yeah, I would have loved to have seen those promos.
Yeah, they were excellent, and I think they could have bumped it up even more. So they could have had a Brodie Lee Moxley promo, and then a match, and then the Brodie Lee Moxley thing here for this match, and then Moxley then had another promo in the middle of or near the end of this show. So I think it would have helped to just get those in. There were only, like I said, a total of maybe 3.5 minutes between the two of them on the Road 2, and I think it would have made a big difference. But here, one thing that kind of stood out for me, he says the difference between the Dark Order then and the Dark Order now. I am curious how this is going to play out. Is this he is upset with Uno and Stu Grayson that their, I guess, leadership during his absence, I guess, was not as strong as it should have been?
I guess I loved everything about this promo from Brodie Lee. It was very attention grabbing, eye catching, and that line also did stand out to me. And one of the biggest things that I loved about it the most is the mystery, is that I don't know what's going to happen. I did also feel that it was a little bit of an implication about the how they handled his absence, and maybe a questionable leadership, not necessarily of Brodie Lee questioning his choices of who he put in their positions, but it feels like there's a little bit of, not an animosity, but we predicted a little bit last week or the week before about like, is someone going to cost Brodie Lee the championship? It's very subtle storytelling, and I thought it was executed really well.
Right, and Daxter's in the chat right now just asks, if 10 is a knight of the Dark Order, what does that mean that the role of Evil Uno and Stu Grayson are within the Dark Order? Are they knights as well, or are they higher up?
Oh, that got me stumped. That's a good question. I couldn't even tell you. That's really good.
All right, so after this promo, 10 heads to the ring. Brodie and his minions leave when Jon Moxley's music hits, and Moxley is pissed. He, right out of the gate, hits this massive running knee, hits a suplex, and the ref actually has to pull him off, and while he's talking to the ref, 10 takes advantage, hits Moxley in the back of the head. They fight on the outside a little bit. Moxley is running the barricade, then backdropped onto the apron. Back into the ring, 10 hits a ripcord cutter, which was actually pretty cool. He actually gets a full mount and starts laying down the punches, gets a couple of 2-count pin attempts. So they actually did give 10 a little bit of offense here. Moxley looks like he's going to turn it around. 10 actually ends up hitting this huge spine buster. But as 10 is playing to the camera, he's putting up his hand in the Dark Order salute, I guess you will. And Moxley hits a paradigm shift, but instead of pinning him, he looks towards the stage. He's looking for Brodie Lee. And then he's like, all right, well, he's not coming out. So he 10 a gotch pile driver. Still no cover. He yells into the camera, so this is your special boy, huh? And Moxley then hits a massive elevated paradigm shift and gets the pin. Moxley goes to the outside, grabs a couple of chairs, tosses them into the ring, and grabs the mic, gets into the ring, and puts 10's arm into one of the chairs. And he says, now, I don't know the strategy of Mr. Brodie stealing my property. I don't know if it's a message or a hostile takeover, a seizure of power, or some Dark Order crap. I don't really care. The way I see it is you're trying to punk me out, and I'm not going to go backstage and chase you around like a geek. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to get out here, or I'm going to break this man's arm. And he seems to be your favorite. Is this your special boy? Are you a special boy? And he says, you have 10 seconds, and he starts counting down. Brodie on the big screen says, listen to me. You do not call the shots. You have made your bed, and on Saturday, I am going to put you to sleep in it. Saturday night, you want your belt back? All you had to do was ask, which is a funny callback to the previous thing that Moxley said to him. Now it's going to be me and you. Look into my eyes. I mean business. You made this personal. In times like these, you have to make sacrifices. So for tonight, I'm leaving. And he walks out with his creepers. And then Moxie says, all right, see you Saturday. And then slams the chair onto 10's arm, theoretically breaking his arm in the act. So Brodie left his guy to the Wolves.
And everything about it was badass, from Brodie Lee sacrificing 10 to Jon Moxley handling it, which also, last week, because we both had the same gripe about Jon Moxley showing up in the beginning of the show looking for his title, and then an hour, 30 minutes later, finally finds his way to the ring. I loved how they executed it in the beginning. They got this match knocked out first. They had Brodie Lee come out and then leave, so he wasn't there when Mox showed up. So I kind of liked, I kind of like how they kind of fixed that problem that I had with it last week. So he kind of got out of there. Also, I'm not sure if you noticed this, but Jon Moxley chest chopped the tally marks completely off of 10's chest, and I mean it was really rough. Like you said, I really wish I could have seen those promos, because I think that certainly would have added a whole extra layer to this rivalry. I think that regardless of what happens at Double or Nothing, I really don't want to believe that this is over, because I would really love to see it stretch a little bit further, because these guys have me invested, and I thought it was great.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there was a little bit of hesitation on what Brodie Lee's character is going to be like. so far I am really digging it at this point, and I think once we talk about it a little bit more, but I think if something happens, Brodie Lee loses because of incompetence by one of his creepers, that having a completely unhinged Mr. Brodie Lee could be extremely entertaining.
Absolutely.
And going back to your thing about addressing what we had talked about last week, why didn't Jon Moxley go after or try to find him? And then right here, he says, the way I look at it, you're trying to punk me out. I'm not going to go backstage and chase you around to look like a geek, which makes a lot more sense now that he's saying it. And even in the point of view of, well, why would you go back there just to get ambushed by 10 other guys? So I guess that kind of ties up the little bit of issue that we had last week.
Yeah.
All right. So next up we have Marko Stunt and MJF, but actually right at the beginning they did mention that the passing of Shad Gaspard, who did die in the ocean from a rip current, and luckily the lifeguards did save his son. He directed them to save his son first, but then a wave took him out to sea, and unfortunately they did not find him, and they just found his body on the beach yesterday morning.
I don't really. I mean, it's just so. It's such a crazy story, and I mean, I don't know if anyone's going to hear this from that side, but thoughts and prayers of that family, because the man's last words on this earth were literally "Save my son first," and that just kind of goes to show you what kind of a person he was. So, I mean, I hope his family can make right in this difficult time.
Yeah, everything I didn't watch during the era when he was wrestling in WWE. I maybe caught a couple matches when I would tune in randomly through the years. But everything that I've heard from all the other commentators was that he was the nicest guy in the world. I saw a story that when he was like a super heel, but somebody met him in person like that night, he was the nicest guy in the world. So like he did not keep up the persona out of the ring, and that he I mean, even Meltzer was saying that him and he didn't really know Gaspard very well, but every time they would run into each other, because I think they lived near each other, so they'd see each other around, that he always acted like Meltzer was his buddy, like they were old buddies, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was great. If you've never watched any Crime Time or JTG and Big Shad, you owe it to yourself to check out some of their highlights, man. The guys are really talented, underutilized, and it's just a real tragedy, man. Real shame.
All right, so moving on here, we have Marko Stunt versus MJF, and this is basically setting up the match between MJF and Jungle Boy coming up at Double or Nothing, because he decided to put his name on the open contract for Marko Stunt this week. MJF beats on Marko, and does a lot of what normally would be a power move for most people, but not his size. He gets to do all these power moves because Marko was like 120 pounds. I believe that's what JR said that he weighed in at. He ends up hitting Marko with his own arm. Like, why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? I don't know if you ever had a younger sibling that you got to do that too. He makes him pick his own nose and puts it in his mouth. Wardlow chokes Marko on the bottom rope behind the ref's back. MJF basically does a hammer toss, like he spins around a couple times and tosses Marko. And MJF sets up Marko on the top rope, yells to Tony to tell the people at home that this is Jungle Boy's future. And Tony's like, I'm not going to tell people. Marko gets out of it and actually knocks MJF off down to the canvas, and he hits a Hurricanrana that sends MJF into the turnbuckle. On the outside, MJF gets smashed into the ring steps because Marko has a lot of evasive maneuvers. He's using his speed. He stops a dive with Marko with a punch, hits the shoulder breaker, and then Salt of the Earth armbar, and that is over from there. Biggest thing comes after the match. MJF snags the microphone and says, "You did a good job. You lasted a lot longer than everybody else figured you would. So I thought I'd be nice and give you a present. So I figured I'd have one of my rats in Jacksonville give you a kiss. But then I remembered no one in the world would ever touch your lips. But since I'm the salt of the earth, I'll give you a different kind of kiss. You can kiss the ring." And then he punches Marko with the Dynamite Diamond ring. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus come out and save Marko. Wardlow and MJF duck out right away as they see them. And Wardlow and Luchasaurus have a bit of a stare down up at the stage. And in the background, MJF is yelling at Wardlow like he's calling a dog over, and he's just not listening. I don't know if anybody picked that up, but like the words he was using, he was like yelling like you would yell at a dog to come inside or do whatever he wanted him to do.
I did not. I don't think I heard that. Which actually, now that you say that, makes that whole. I saw him in the background yelling, but I couldn't make out a whole lot of what it was. So actually, that makes it a lot more, I guess, appropriate, considering that Wardlow's always seemed kind of, a big dog.
Yeah, he was yelling, "Wardlow, Wardlow, Wardlow, come here! Wardlow, come here!" So it was just like yelling at a dog to try to get them to disengage from whatever's got their attention.
All right, so this match, again, I wanted to point out, because this was in my notes, and we brought it up the last couple weeks, how great the crowd was, not just during this match, but the entire show. It was, again, just AEW workers, and I think some production people had their family and stuff, but the crowd was really great. Also, Marko Stunt had a lot of really great offense in this match. That dude, how tall is he? Is he like 5'1" or 2?
I don't know. I don't know what he is. He's at.
Well, one of the things that stood out with me with Marko Stunt, like he's a little guy. He bounces off the middle rope, but he has a really great drop kick. I saw him get up there against MJF. Now, MJF probably isn't, he's not the tallest guy in the world, but Marko Stunt's got some ups. I mean, the dude has been able to, and you mentioned that AEW Dark match with Marko that I definitely want to watch, because anytime I get to see him win, I'm going to take advantage. But he can put anyone over. He can sell anything. I mean, the guy's really talented. And then did you also see Wardlow almost slip and eat it walking up the steps?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
it looked like he cracked a smile for a second when he was looking at Luchasaurus.
He did. It looked like he was embarrassed, and then he was aware of his surroundings. Like, oh yeah, okay, look tough. But I just props to Wardlow for keeping that. That is embarrassing. It regardless of whether it's in front of a live crowd or not, it's a live match. It's a hot set. So this, again, setting up Wardlow versus Luchasaurus. And I cannot wait because it's been very subtle payoffs. It's been a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I can't wait to see when we get to see full-blown those two swinging at each other. It's going to be two behemoths, two of the biggest guys that AEW has to offer, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, so I just checked. Marko Stunt is 5'2", MJF is 6 feet tall.
See, and then you think about that drop kick he got. He got up there.
Yeah.
Marko Stunt has a great drop kick for a little fella.
He's got some jumps. All right, so next up we have, which... Now that I'm looking at it, I totally forgot to take notes on this section. Tony introduces Arn Anderson as the head coach of the Nightmare Family. Jake the Snake is Lance Archer's advisor. They're sitting across a table from each other. I can give you some bullet points here. Jake basically said it was surreal to be sitting across the table from Arn Anderson because they had never actually had a match together, which is really hard to believe. I'm surprised that didn't happen. And he takes a couple shots at the Nightmare Family, takes a couple shots at Brandy. And so I don't know what notes you have on what was actually said, but I think the reason I don't have many notes is because it was really good, but it didn't really further the match for me.
Yeah, okay, so Jake Roberts, I actually feel the exact same way. So Jake Roberts had a line that I really loved, which was, people have dreams, people have nightmares. We know those aren't real. Lance Archer is. It's simple, and I don't know whether it was Jake Roberts' delivery, the just his voice. I loved that line coming from his lips so much. It was badass. It was really great. And then when they mentioned that they never wrestled, I didn't believe it. I had to look it up myself. Like, what? I could have sworn these, but they never did. This was good. The promos were great, but I agree. It didn't. Especially how heavy they leaned into Arn Anderson being the trainer to Cody and Jake Roberts being the representative, manager, whatever, to Lance Archer. I really thought that this promo took away from the TNT Championship match and made it feel more like these two guys could have a match, which I don't expect either of them to get in the ring together, but right. It took a little bit of the hype away from the TNT champion, or at least I thought. I felt it took away from it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of my feeling. Like, are they hyping a match between themselves? Because that's really what it felt like in the end, especially because they flipped the table at the end and looked like they were going to come to blows until the refs came down to keep them apart. But yeah, that's just what threw me.
I think also when you watch the promo, there's a part where Arn Anderson he has the intention to continue to speak, and Jake kind of jumps in. So I don't know if after that maybe some things kind of gotten forgotten because they had to do a little bit of improv. Because Arn recovered very well, but it kind of took like the tone shifted after the interruption. But I don't know if in my head to build up seeing Jake Roberts and Arn Anderson sitting across the table from each other. Maybe in my head I pumped it up a little bit, but it didn't. It was there. I didn't feel anything from it. I thought its original intended purpose got lost along the way. But it is what it is, I guess. I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah, and talking about there where obviously I think for the most part this is all bullet pointed and improvised, which was great. And I just think a couple they jumped in when the person hadn't gotten near to the end of their thought, which was fine because actually further on in the promo, Arn says, "Don't interrupt me," when he thought Jake was going to start speaking again. So that kind of worked, and he did recover, but in the end, it did not feel like they were hyping up the TNT title match. It really came down to being more about them than the people that they were there to represent.
Yeah, I think it was just like a one-off. I don't expect it to go much further than that. I don't think we're going to see anything like that after. Maybe down the line, but I mean, it was there, and it was what it was.
Right. Maybe I think putting this promo last week or the week before, and then pulling forward the promos that were done in the past 2 weeks, in last week and this week. I think that probably would have worked a little bit better. Because then, the final promo would be Cody, and not his representative 10 days. So we haven't seen a promo from Cody until 10 days out from the Double or Nothing. Next up, we had a video sent in by Darby Allin. Again, his very creative filmmaking. Basically, he did the gimmick again where he had photos of the wrestlers, in this case, who are in the casino ladder match, and they cut out the eyes and put them on various people or actors, I guess, and he's sitting there playing poker with all these people. It was a very neo-noir type of feel. He was standing on a ladder on fire, which was pretty interesting, and that was kind of the final shot of this video. Didn't really forward anything. It was just Darby being artistic for the most part.
Yeah, they got away from the Darby and Taz promo, which I'll be honest, I kind of, because the first Darby Taz promo they did, it was fine. It kind of led me into a little bit of an interest of a possible heel turn. The second one they did, I thought was a little bit better. So I was kind of expecting a Taz Darby thing again, but I kind of like that little left curve that they threw. Darby Allin has a very interesting. He's a very interesting cat, man. And I really like these videos that he sends in. It's not even anything of like a noir, different vibe to them. They just have this. They catch your attention, and they're really good. And I think that's what I love about them so much. It's just it catches your eye. You'll have to stop and watch it. So I liked everything about this.
Right, and he just makes them and sends them in, and they're like, "Yep, looks good," and they play it.
Yeah, and that's what blows my mind. It's something he does. It's not a bunch of dudes sitting there overproducing. It's one dude having a vision and executing it. And I really like that.
Next up, we have a video that looks like it was sent in by Pac. And Pac is sitting there on a couch. He's in, it looks like a warehouse that has been converted into a flat of some kind. And he's watching AEW, and he is laughing at watching Orange Cassidy get his head kicked off. And then you can see the TV in the background. It's just on repeat over and over and over. And he says, "You probably thought that the whole world in chaos, with the whole world in chaos, that you are safe from Death Triangle. You are not. Now I have been forced to sit at home and weather the storm once before, never again. Fortunately now, I no longer tread this path alone. Orange Cassidy, you cocky little prick. Maybe tonight is the night you get over yourself. Try or try not. Rey Fenix is an assassin, and he's going to kick your snout off and send you to your maker. Consider yourself marked."
Whew. The bastard Pac. First of all, I am so happy to be seeing him again on television. Second of all, when was the last time we saw him on television?
Before he got stuck in the UK, I'm guessing.
Oh my gosh. And I'm not saying I forgot about the guy, but as soon as he popped up, I miss him. I'm not saying AEW doing very well without him, of course, because the talent's going to make it work, but realizing right there when he's cutting those promos how much of that little bit of an attitude that AEW has missed in his absence, he's definitely a guy that is, I mean, not necessarily needed, but I want to see more of him. I don't know why I forgot to bring him up at any point, but just watching him, man, doing that promo, it was really great.
Yeah, his promos have been solid since coming to AEW. One thing that is just kind of a bummer with Death Triangle, Rey Fenix is the only one in the US.
I know, that's insane to me.
Because Pentagon is stuck in Mexico, Pac is stuck in the UK, and I guess Rey Fenix was already in the US when all the travel restrictions happened, so he just stayed in the US. So that's why he manages to make it. So that goes into our next match, Orange Cassidy versus Rey Fenix. I thought this match was amazing. This match was so good. Orange Cassidy sends best friends to the back, so he is by himself. While he's standing on the stage, just like last week, Rey Fenix comes in with a flying dragon kick. Orange Cassidy just takes a step back, and Rey Fenix just goes flying by. It was like totally Wile E. Coyote, like he's running, the Roadrunner comes to an abrupt stop, and he just keeps going. It was great. Orange Cassidy just walks down to the ring. He gets down onto the floor, rolls under the bottom rope back into the ring. Orange Cassidy takes his sunglasses off. He takes his shirt off. This means Orange Cassidy means business. He just keeps dodging all types of offense from Fenix. He puts his hands in his pockets and avoids more. Fenix is completely frustrated. Orange Cassidy tries to back roll his way out of a move, but ends up taking a stomp to the back of the head, and this is where Fenix finally can get his hands on him. Phoenix gets Orange Cassidy up for a power bomb, but Orange Cassidy turns it into a code red. Phoenix then hits a springboard leg drop, and he turns it around here. They fight through the commercial break. Since I watch the fight feed, I can hear everything that they're saying, and so you're probably watching this picture-in-picture.
Yep.
Phoenix and Orange Cassidy go out to the floor. Fenix gets a few chops in, and he's laid up against the ring post, and Orange Cassidy ducks a punch. Fenix ends up punching the post. Because this was picture-in-picture, you didn't get to hear it. You could actually hear Fenix say, "Duck this one," and Orange Cassidy saying, "Uh-huh." Like, his mouth didn't move, but he's like, "Uh-huh, got it." And then, let's see, a dive to the outside throws Fenix. There's a dive to the outside. Fenix goes back into the ring. Oh wait, this is totally... I totally skipped the entire paragraph here. So Fenix works on Orange Cassidy's arm, and he has Orange Cassidy on the apron, and he does a baseball slide drop kick into Orange Cassidy, which sends him right into the cameraman. Orange Cassidy turns it around with some palm strikes, and does his awesome Superman punch. His Superman punch looks so good. Does a dive to the outside, throws Fenix immediately back into the ring, does a crossbody off the top rope, and then hits a around the world DDT for a 2 count. Orange Cassidy goes up to the top rope, but Fenix ends up catching him with a uppercut. Fenix goes up, but to do something to Cassidy, but Cassidy pushes Fenix off and then hits a diving DDT. I love that move. For a 2 count, Orange Cassidy brings Fenix up to the top rope. Fenix tries to go for something, but Orange Cassidy puts his hands in his pockets and hits a headbutt. Fenix hits a powerbomb off the top rope. Orange Cassidy reverses the muscle buster into a roll-up, and then Fenix... and then actually he reverses Fenix's rolling into a cutter into an air raid crash. Kip Sabian comes out, bringing a very tall ladder. He sets it up on the stage against the ring, and he climbs up and sits on top, distracting the ref long enough for Fenix to hit a low blow on Orange Cassidy, hits his rolling cutter. Fenix picks up the 3, thanks to the distraction from Kip Sabian. SCU comes out and dumps Kip Sabian into the ring, or I guess Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, who are both in the ladder match as well. They check on Orange Cassidy, but Jimmy Havoc comes and attacks. The 4 of them fight on the outside. Fenix goes for this dive, and he jumps up onto the top rope, so he's facing out. He bounces up, turns around, so now he's facing into the ring, and then bounces again to do a dive, and he does a half twist, so he ends up facing back out again. He does not get far enough from the ring. He crashes and burns to the floor. Basically, his feet kind of grazed a few people, but that was about it. He did not get any distance away from the ring, and it looked like that sucked. Colt Cabana comes in, hits a moonsault onto the pile. Orange Cassidy is launched by the best friends, and he flies over the crowd and hits the guardrail. But he mostly did get caught by a good hunk of the crowd, but he was sent a little too far, and that kind of finished out this segment. So here we have Fenix crashing to the ground, and this is our first potential injury report of the night. I did hear a update earlier, about 3 hours ago. The news was he's sore, but should be okay for Saturday.
Whew. Okay. So I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a second. This was easily the match of the night. If anyone ever had any proof about Orange Cassidy's ability, that dude can go. This match was fast. It had great sequences. The timing was perfect. You didn't see a whole lot of standing around and waiting. The chemistry between Rey Fenix and Orange Cassidy was really great. Rey Fenix can work with anybody, and so can Orange Cassidy. But these two together in a singles competition looked, oh my gosh, it was really good. It had a lot of big moves, a lot of false finishes. Kip Sabian taking that front flip bump off a ladder looked like it sucked as well.
Yeah, but
not
at
as bad
least
as
he landed in the ring, and it has a little bit of give and some padding.
Okay. So if anyone listening has never taken a bump in a wrestling ring, I have. So all it is, I'm sure some of you are smart up. It's a steel frame with deck boards and a little bit of padding. And somehow taking a ladder bump, which was, let's say that's a 10-foot ladder, into that ring was somehow softer than what Ray Fenix did. So when Ray Fenix, also, you have to think, you've seen some really big guys stand on the floor, and they're eye level at that middle rope. And at that point, you think you're, what, 6'6", 6'7",
Right.
maybe even 7 feet. So to get to the top rope, that's probably easy 9-10 feet off the floor. Ray Fenix also jumped. He got air. It looked like he was hanging there for like 6 seconds. He jumped. And when he landed, you could definitely tell that the entire group's, certainly was going to be safe about it, but you definitely thought that every single one of them 100% thought that Ray Fenix was going to come out farther. That's why they all stood there.
Yeah.
He didn't. And I watched it a couple times, because when you saw Ray Fenix bounce off that floor, I was like, oh my God, like, I hope he's okay. But it was a split second, but if you go back and rewatch that, you could see Kip Sabian at the very last minute just really try to take a step in and like really try to take a lot of that fall and not necessarily catch it, but really put himself in that line. But unfortunately, it wasn't fast enough, and that bump... oh my gosh, it was rough. I'm surprised if not that he's not like hurt and can still compete on Saturday, but I wouldn't be surprised if it knocked the wind out of him, because he bounced. He bounced. You're falling 12 feet easily, and you bounce off that concrete floor with that padding like that. That sucked 100%.
Definitely, and some people have actually pointed out that the whole crowd not stepping in was probably the better outcome from coming up short, because if they had all stepped in and they nudged him towards the ring, he would have cracked his head on the apron, because he only missed the apron by a couple inches. So if they all stepped in and nudged him back towards the ring at all, he would have cracked his head, and he could have easily broken his neck right there. That would have been even worse than what ended up happening.
Yeah, high risk is very, like, it's great to watch, but the athleticism, I guess, to pull it off. And also, I did like the he stood on the top rope, bounced, did a 180, and then did a weird whisper in the wind off. So, like, his balance on that is insane. And you're absolutely right. If Kip's, worst case scenario, of course, is that. But being that was the best case scenario for him to fall, but like on his back from that height, that's best case, then... if it's funny because we just talk about people jumping over the top. If you're using this podcast as a means to get caught up on AEW Dynamite, one, you owe it to yourself to watch this, because this was the match of the night. But two, watch that bump. I know maybe how we talk about it might not be as scary, but that was really disastrous looking, man. That looked really bad.
Right, I rock climb, and sometimes you have spotters when you're down low and can hit the ground, and really the rule is you're not trying to catch the person. All you're doing is trying to direct them so their head doesn't hit the ground. If they break an arm or break a leg, that's fine. Just make sure that their head doesn't hit the ground. I think that's pretty much the rule as far as wrestling goes in some of these spots too. Just make sure my head doesn't hit the ground, that type of deal.
Yeah, and I'm hoping Ray Fenix. It sounds like he's just a little sore, a little banged up, but I'm really pushing to see him make a full recovery and compete on Saturday.
Yeah, so that was the news as of about 4:30. So next up we had a tag match. It was Kris Statlander and Hikaru Shida versus Britt Baker and Nyla Rose. This starts out, Statlander and Shida take out Britt and Rose with some double team moves. They both have issues with the other one. So, and actually, right. Shida and Statlander have issues with Britt. Statlander not so much with Rose, but Statlander gets in a little offense on Nyla Rose, and then Nyla hits a massive shoulder tackle, sending Statlander flying. And Statlander isn't a tiny girl either, so that was a lot of power to truck through her. Britt avoids getting tagged in. So when Nyla Rose goes to tag her in, she's like standing back and holding her hands up like, nope, don't tag me, don't tag me. Rose hits a splash for a 2 count during the commercial. Rose actually rakes Statlander's stomach with her nails while she's in a submission hold and hits a delayed suplex for 2. Britt refuses another tag. And Rose yells at her, "Tag me!" And then she's like, still like standing back. Nyla Rose grabs Britt by the throat and says, "Tag me!" and then she's like, okay, and gives her a tag, tags herself in. Statlander fights out of the corner of the heels, gets a tag to Shida. Britt sold a Insiguri from Statlander that missed by a mile. I don't know if you noticed that one.
I did. I had that in my notes. Yeah.
Okay. Shida fights with Britt for a little bit, hits a bunch of forearms, hits a vertical suplex. Statlander gets tagged in, and Rose tries to get involved, but she squashes Britt in the corner, and then Britt falls down and sitting in the corner. Shida and Statlander lift up Rose and throw her onto Britt, who's sitting in the corner. Rose right here landed right on Britt's knee. I went back and rewatched this. So when Britt went down, she was fine. She was sitting. She had her legs flat. Was not bending at the knee. But before they threw Nyla Rose onto her, she pulled her knees up. And that, I think, is the biggest problem that happened here because, of course, Nyla Rose actually landed right on her knee, and this is our second injury report of the night. Last I heard, at around 4:30, Britt was having an MRI right at that time, so I'm guessing we should have news any moment now. I'll look in a little bit to see if there's any update on her, but they're thinking it might actually be like a torn ACL, which would really suck. Anyways, I give props to Nyla Rose here. I think she realized what was going on and dragged Britt over to the corner, tagged herself in, and then continued on with the match. I think the ending of this match was supposed to be Nyla Rose pinning Statlander or Britt pinning Statlander. I'm not sure. But how it went, because Britt was taken out of the finish, that in the end, Nyla Rose ended up hitting the Beast Bomb on Hikaru Shida. It's probably the wrong way to go here. And Statlander couldn't get in to break up the pin. So I believe this finish was called on the fly just because of what happened. Britt was being tended to the doctor at ringside, and she probably really, we know that she really did mess up her knee, but at the time, I'm pretty sure she messed up her knee because she walked off with the doctor while the match was still continuing. So that goes there. Anyways, after the match, Rose sets up a table in the ring, puts Shida on it. Statlander grabs onto Nyla Rose when Nyla Rose goes up to the top rope, and that gives enough time for Shida to get off the table, get up onto the top rope, and suplex Rose through the table. Nyla's head barely cleared the table on that suplex. So that was a little bit scary.
This match, for something that was supposed to be just a regular women's tag match to set up, Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose, this match had a lot going on in it. Yeah, exactly. Nyla Rose, Kris Statlander she's not the smallest woman, but she's not the biggest, and she got wrecked. I don't think Statlander did a whole lot of selling because Nyla Rose legitimately just rolled right through her. I thought that was great. When Britt Baker was laying there, I saw that too. She perfectly straight, she was ready, but then you see that drop onto her, and she just instinctively, like a lot of people, would flinch. Yeah, she's trying to tense, trying to get ready to absorb the blow, and what ended up happening, just like you said, her knees came up, and it did look rough, and then what Nyla Rose did, that's the true sign of a great pro and a great worker, because also it kind of fit if you think about it, because when she grabbed Britt by the throat, it's like, just, it's like, okay, like she's grabbing Britt, she's commanding Britt kind of. Britt didn't want anything to do with the match. Nyla Rose, as her tag partner, is commanding, tag. It's like, tag me. So then when you see Nyla Rose pull Britt, she right away knew, oh boy. So I don't know if a spot got missed, but it didn't take that long. So when Nyla Rose just drug Britt Baker over to the corner, tagged herself and handled. The finish felt like it was on the fly. I still thought it was a pretty fine finish. I thought the match was really great. That superplex, I through the table, I got a little nervous. It was really close. It could have been a lot worse, also considering the match before that with Rey Fenix. Right. And then this one, we have Britt getting hurt. The match was great. Nyla Rose proved to be a great beast, a true powerhouse. I liked the match. I talked to a couple people. Some of them have a little bit of a problem with it. Kris Statlander being able to pick up Nyla Rose did. Kris Statlander is incredibly strong.
That is one thing I miss. Kris Statlander got Nyla Rose up into the electric chair position and dropped her flat on her face. Yes, she is super strong. But so Hikaru Shida is ridiculously strong too, because she's suplexed Nyla Rose before in the middle of the ring as well.
Yeah, so we have a lot of powerhouse in the AEW women's division, and this isn't a knock on any other division, because we also don't talk about any other division and any other promotion, but this women's division is just, I said it last week too. I love this women's division, and I cannot wait to see what else they do, but I'm really hoping Britt Baker is okay, because that did look really terrible. With that being said, everyone in this match did have the moment to shine. The finish was what it was. It wasn't what it was intended to be, but it worked. It set up the match that we're going to get a double or nothing, and that's all this match was really supposed to do, especially in a women's tag. I thought it accomplished that, and it was fun.
Yeah, okay, so here's my one thing. Can we ground Statlander's character already? It's been 6 months with Statlander in the promotion, and JR, you can tell, is like, okay, this is getting ridiculous at this point. So I think we need some sort of grounding for Statlander. Like, we basically never hear her talk. So we don't know, does she really think she's an alien? Is she really an alien? Or is she just playing mind games with people to screw with people? Or is she crazy?
It's funny, because I think I had this exact same thought a couple weeks ago. I don't know, because it could be one of those things where you wanted to ground it and you're like, I liked it better when she was quiet, because I think that does add a little bit to the mystery.
Right.
Honestly, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think somewhere down the line, yes, we're going to need to maybe add a different dynamic to it, but I think as of right now, it's hanging on, but it's still getting the job done, so it'll probably still be stuck around for a little bit.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It
is tough.
I've been wanting them to do something with their character, but they haven't, but she's also, ever since her title match with, was it with Riho? No, she had one with Nyla Rose too, right? Remember. Was she in that? Was she in that fatal 4-way match for the women's? No, that was no.
Oh my gosh!
She had a match. Wait, she faced Nyla Rose at Revolution, right?
Oh my gosh!
I can't even remember.
We're having a podcast about it, and we can't remember where. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
But anyway, it's been 6 months with Statlander in the promotion. I think they need to at least work on her character at some point. But again, this is another problem also with Hikaru Shida. She has basically no character either.
Yeah, and we got a glimpse of that last week with the promo. And not that the promo was bad, but it's just it's not a stereotypical Japanese competitor, but in a way it sort of is. You know what I mean?
Right. And like if they pulled like some of the stuff that she does on social media into the show, I think she'd do great because her social media is awesome. But yeah, I don't know.
I think maybe I think we're gonna get there. It's gonna be one of those same things where if you see the same thing every week, we're gonna have to mix it up. I think somewhere down the line, maybe because also with Kris Statlander, I'm also a little bit confused with it because she's been in the 6 months she's been here. She's had a lot of decent profile, like high profile matches. I mean, she's in there with the women's champion last week. She's in there with the women's champion this week. Last week was a fatal 4-way. This one she's against her in a tag match. So you think someone that you're putting out front and center, maybe they'd work with a little bit. But again, I guess it's just one of those things where I'm sure it's maybe came up, but at the same time, it's in the same boat that you and I are in. We just don't know because it's such a unique character that you're kind of scared to take too many chances because you don't know what will and won't. But I think the time's going to come for Statlander to have to go out and try to sink or swim with some new development.
And I just checked my notes. Yes, Kris Statlander fights Nyla Rose for the women's championship at Revolution. And Statlander had the flu all previous week.
Oh, okay.
Going into the match. All right, so that's where we stand. All right, next up we have Alex Marvez, and here is the other Jon Moxley promo. He says, in sports and business and life, everything is a reduction to violence eventually. Move your car. I don't want to move my car. We're going to fine you. I'm not going to pay the fine. It only gets worse from there. Give me my belt back. I don't want to give you your belt back. I'm going to break this man's arm. Go ahead. You see, it only gets worse from here. I got a feeling it's going to be pretty bad at Double or Nothing on Saturday. 280 pounds, flipped upside down, dropped straight down on his dome. That's enough to knock out a rhinoceros. This Saturday, Brodie Lee is going to sleep, and when he wakes up, he will have lost the match, and he will have lost whatever power he thinks he has, and will have nothing left but a 3-piece suit and a bunch of dudes wearing creepy gimp masks to repair his shattered ego. It was nice knowing you.
It was a Jon Moxley promo. It delivered. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. I don't know if I'm assuming that the 280 pounds is enough to take down a rhinoceros. I don't know the science to support that, but I guess it's true. I loved it. This promo was perfectly, I thought, well placed in the show. Again, I'm gonna have to dig deep because I want to see that promo that you were talking about that came on before, but. This promo was simple. It was a Jon Moxley promo. It's great. If you're familiar with just Dean Ambrose promos, this wasn't a Dean Ambrose promo. He just starts talking and he just goes, and it was 1:30. It was well executed. What do you want me to say that I haven't already said? It was a great promo. It was great.
Next up, we have Shawn Spears news. Which
baby.
Right when it started, I'm like, this is stupid. But then, like, the third sentence in, I was hooked. He said, so basically, it's Shawn Spears. He's in a suit and tie. He's on a blue screen stage or a green screen, whatever. He's sitting behind a news desk. It looks like legit, like CNN type of deal. He says, we interrupt tonight's broadcast for some breaking news. I'm Shawn Spears. And then he gives this huge grin. It was awesome. And he holds it there for like 3 seconds, too. And he says, after a mediocre career spanning more than 3 decades, coupled with severe injuries at the hands of Lance Archer, 3 weeks ago, Dustin Rhodes, at the request of family and friends, has decided to retire from the world of professional wrestling and hang up the boots for good. I, for one, concur. So congratulations, Cody. He starts clapping. This is what you were going for all along, wasn't it? In all seriousness, Dustin, I understand it can be difficult for you, understanding when it's a man's time. Understanding when it's a man's time has never come easy, and retirement, no doubt, is a difficult pill to swallow. But from what I understand, swallowing pills 12 years ago wasn't exactly that hard. Wow, was it? So sad. And then he changes camera angles, and he has this like exaggerated sweep over to the new camera. And he says, speaking of sad, the fact is that I don't have a match this Saturday at Double or Nothing, and that is a travesty in itself. Here in AEW, wins matter, and I am so close to cracking the top 5 in the AEW rankings. So what about Spears? What do I have to do to get a match around here? Who do I have to piss off? Maybe I just need to go into business for myself. So I challenge Dustin Rhodes to a match this Saturday at Double or Nothing. There, I said it publicly. Now the people are going to expect this match. The people will demand this match. So the AEW brass, you will now have to book and promote this match. Problem solved. And if you're looking for Dustin, you can probably find him on display at your nearest museum. Now back to not all of you on AEW Dynamite on TNT.
Oh my! First of all, can we just make the Sean Spears News Network a weekly thing?
Please,
because
this would be great.
Oh my gosh, it was so. But here's the thing: I wasn't expecting it. If you've ever seen anyone like try to do a funny impression of a newsman, that's what this was. The looks that he was giving to the camera transitions, but also, like, okay, Sean Spears aside, this great. It made me laugh. I wasn't expecting the news network, so whoever idea it was for the Sean Spears News Network, dude, kudos, because that was absolutely great. Yeah, it was great. It was great. If it was Spears, great. But like it was a perfect. It almost looked like a shot for shot of a CNN broadcast. It was so great. The thing, it's not a problem that I have, because Sean Spears, we cut back to, was it a week or two when he cut that promo calling Cody out and blaming Cody for Dustin getting hurt, and I guess it fits. So this match isn't so far out of left field, but it kind of, the match itself being announced, like, oh, it's going to be the chairman Sean Spears versus the natural Dustin Rhodes. I like it because seeing Dustin Rhodes now revitalized, rejuvenated, he looks great, and he's proven in the earlier, when AEW was going the last few months for this coronavirus hit, Dustin Rhodes can still go, and he can still hang. So, regardless of this match feel like it was being thrown out, which I guess they did a little bit of groundwork, the one match that I didn't think I was going to get was going to be Sean Spears versus Dustin Rhodes at a pay-per-view, but now that I'm actually getting it, I'm okay with it. I'm actually really excited for this match.
Yeah, and one thing that was brought up in the chat here, he says he's going to retire, that Dustin retired, but then he challenges him to a match, which is kind of funny. Yep. So I think the whole thing, I think Sean Spears is trying to get to Cody through his brother. That is definitely seems what he's going to be doing here.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you say that's the way, considering the promo that he cut calling Cody out. I think since Jake Roberts and Lance Archer have been already trying to get to Cody, and I think also what you said with Sean Spears talking about how he was just outside the top 5 ranking, so what does he have to do to get a match? So it's taking matters into his own hands, working for himself, and rubbing the right people the wrong way. So that's exactly what he did. He gets his match at a pay-per-view, and it was great.
All right, next up, the commentary runs down the card for Double or Nothing, but we will touch on that at the end of the show here and give our thoughts. Next week, they're actually going to have a battle royale, and the winner is going to face whoever the new TNT champion is on June 3rd. So that match is announced for next week's Dynamite. Then we go into a quick video package before this next match. It's Sammy Guevara and Damascus going back and forth, and they're cutting in all these shots from their street fight. And Sammy says, "Where do you want me to effing start? He ran over me with a golf cart. That's attempted murder." And Damascus says, "I wanted a 2-on-2 fair, straight-up match, but of course the inner circle being people of heinous morals, it was a 5-on-2 affair." Sammy says, "The Elite are supposed to be good guys. They're not good guys. the Inner Circle, we're good people. And it shows like the entire Inner Circle beating up on Kenny and dropping him on top of the golf cart. And then it cuts back Damascus once again. They tried to end our careers and tried to take us out of the game so we couldn't fight in the Great War. Sammy says, "We don't try to hurt anybody, but we're going to. We haven't tried, but we're going to succeed." And then Matt says, all of the Inner Circle are selfish individuals, obsolete mules. And then he sings, prepare yourself, fade away, and classify yourself obsolete. Obsolete! So, typical Matt Hardy here in his Damascus character. Sammy Guevara versus Matt Hardy as Damascus, though he was announced as Broken Matt Hardy. Hardy takes control at the beginning of the match. They fight on the outside, and Hardy crushes Sammy's head into the ring post. Sammy has these great facial expressions during this. He gets run into the ring post and then into the barricade. This sequence will come into play in a little bit. Back into the ring, Sammy counters a twist of fate. He basically goes into a handstand to stop himself from getting hit by the twist of fate. They actually mention that Hardy has been wrestling for 27 years and Sammy is 26 years old. So
I don't want to cut you off, but that's ridiculous to really think about for a second.
Right?
That blew my mind. I was like, "Oh my god, he's absolutely right."
Sammy ends up hitting a few kicks. Matt counters a cutter attempt. Sammy sends Hardy to the outside and then hits Matt with a dive. Sammy runs. So now they play the sequence backwards. Sammy runs Matt into the barricade, then runs Matt into the ring post, and then crushes Matt's head against the post. So basically, like I said, the same thing Matt did at the beginning of the match. Now Sammy is doing it in reverse to Matt. Matt trucked Sammy with that massive clothesline once again. Hits a side effect for a 2 count. Sammy avoids a twist of fate attempt, hits a massive running knee. It looked brutal. Sammy has a really good rising running knee. It's something that I've noticed that he's done. Let's see. Sammy then hits 2 super kicks to a kneeling Hardy for a 2 count. Sammy misses a shooting star press. Hardy hits a twist of fate. Sammy takes it exactly like he did last week. It was awesome. Sammy kicks out at 2. Hardy takes off Sammy's shoe and starts biting his foot. Sammy hits a massive rising knee strike again for a 2 count. Sammy hits a springboard cutter for a 2 count. Goes for a shooting star press. Matt gets his knees up. Hits a twist of fate. Sammy takes this one even better, and Hardy gets the 3 count here. After the match, Matt goes to the outside, grabs a chair to try to maybe exact some revenge, but on the screen, Jericho with the Inner Circle, has Omega held up against the goalpost at the football field. They start beating on him with the baseball bat, and I don't know the point of tossing water on him, but okay. Hardy runs out of the ring, up the stairs into the stands, and then out on the infield wall, the Bucks show up and they save Kenny Omega. They do high cross bodies onto Santana or Ortiz. Hardy ends up making it to the field. They're all brawling, and then in the background, I see somebody running onto the field. I'm like, oh, there's a production dude running across the field, because I saw the crane camera in the background. I'm like, oh, production guy's probably running across the field because they need to get a shot or something. Nope. It starts getting bigger, and I'm like, oh, they're running towards us. And it is Adam Page, and he trucks Jake Hager with a clothesline. They all brawl, and then they start to kind of split off. They're all jaw-jacking at each other, and the Elite are standing there in the end zone, but then you see Hangman Page is walking off by himself down the entrance to the stadium, leaving the Bucks, Omega, and Hardy on the field. And that was the end of the show.
Yeah. Wow. It's just like that street fight with Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy. It left you in a state of, what did I just watch? What is going on? And why am I not getting more of this? This man, okay, first off, Sammy Guevara sells that twist of fate better than anyone.
He takes it the best.
Anyone I've ever seen take that twist of fate, he sells the absolute piss out of that. And the guy, Sammy Guevara, by the way, Sammy Guevara, he has won me over. I've seen him. I remember his first match at AEW. It was Cody Rhodes and him. They opened the show, if I'm not mistaken, at the down in DC. And he came out with that panda hood, yep. And you see him come out. He does it. But how far has he came? He wins me over each and every single week. That match was actually really good. And when I interrupted you, and I didn't mean to, with Matt Hardy's experience versus Sammy Guevara's youth. Here we have a guy who was Sammy Guevara is, how old do you say? 22, 23?
26. 26
years old. So does that just not blow your mind? The age difference, the gap, the 30 years almost of experience versus this guy who isn't even 30. And the match that they have together was really great. The part where Matt Hardy took off Sammy Guevara's boot or shoe and started biting his foot. Now, to each their own. That kind of grossed me out a little bit. I couldn't, it's just, I don't know what it was, but that's the commitment that Matt Hardy has to this Damascus character. And I don't think that really gets enough credit to an extent. That's the layers that Matt Hardy can do, whether it's Broken Matt Hardy from Team Extreme, Hardy Boys, and Damascus. Each person that kind of gets thrown into the mix has their own personality, their own persona, their own history, their own moveset. That clothesline, I remember we talked about it before, whether it was the street fight, whatever it was. Matt Hardy has a really, really great clothesline. And I've never seen it before for this, and I love it. When everything broke out, the Young Bucks are back. Hangman Adam Page, by the way, he must have set the world record for the fastest 100-yard dash in cowboy boots.
I think he came out at the 50-yard line, but still.
He was trucking, man. He was going. And when he threw that clothesline to Hager, I'm like, oh, shit. I had to rewind it. And the boys are back. We have, I don't know the water thing either. The beating Omega up with a bat, dump water on him. I don't know whether it's something because he's the cleaner. I don't know. But they have all these things going on, and the Bucks are back. Hangman Page is back. You have Matt Hardy. You have the Inner Circle. And then the one thing 100% that caught my eye and the attention, because here we are leading into this, the Elite versus the Inner Circle. It is going to be a stadium stampede match. I still don't know what the hell that is. I am excited. And then all of a sudden, the Hangman Adam Page walks off into the sunset all by himself. The guys are wondering, hey, man, what's going on? They've been telling a story. They've been teasing a story. Could Double or Nothing be the conclusion to that story? I don't know. But everything about Double or Nothing, and specifically the Elite versus the Inner Circle, 100% has the ability to be the match of the show. This could steal the entire show.
Definitely. All right, so we have a comment from the chat. Daxer says, who is coaching Sammy? Because that coach needs a raise.
I think it's funny. I think it's just, being around guys like Matt Hardy, working with Matt, who I've always felt was one of the most underrated people in terms of knowing the business and understanding the business. He's working with Chris Jericho. I mean, the guy and
he was trained by Booker T.
Yeah, so yes, okay, so you have Booker T, a Hall of Famer. You have Matt Hardy, who I think is, a surefire Hall of Famer, and then you got Chris Jericho, who's the GOAT. There's a reason why Sammy Guevara is put in the position he is, and in the wrestling business, it's always sink or swim, and you want to not drown. But Sammy Guevara has the talent, he has the ability, he has the charisma, he has the persona. He does have a really great personality. I've also seen a lot of things where he's not kayfabed. When he's outside, he's a really, really sweet guy, but he plays such a good dick, and he knows his part. He knows his role. Same thing with all the guys in Inner Circle. He knows his part to play, and he plays it well. He's just got it. He's 26. And he's still young. He has a bright future ahead of him, and it's just the guy. Like I said, he just wins me over every single chance I get to see him on screen. He's just really that good.
Yeah, I mean, we have some really good young talent in AEW because MJF, he's only 23, and Jungle Boy is 22. So
yeah, actually, I don't know whether I should be impressed or angry because I'm 20. I'm 30. And these guys at 22 and 23 are just it's really not pathetic, but like I get really upset at myself with how talented these guys are. The AEW, the future's bright, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, and Marko Stunt is also 23 as well.
Ah, damn.
All right, so quickly, I got the ratings. The ratings are good. They had 701,000 viewers for AEW this week, so that is an increase from the 652. So it looks like the UFC show definitely did take a little bit of a chunk out of the audience because UFC numbers have been huge comparatively. I was just listening to Observer Live this afternoon, and they were saying that before the shutdown of everything, the last UFC Fight Night on ESPN only did 600,000 viewers, and last week's Fight Night did like 1.3 million viewers. So they've doubled their viewers coming out or coming still in this shutdown, but people are just clamoring for some fights. So that's probably the indication of what happened on Wednesday night when they were running a show on ESPN Plus. Same thing.
Yeah.
And ESPN Plus is a pretty well subscribed to service because you can get it free if you have Disney Plus, and Disney Plus was huge. So you can get free Hulu or ESPN Plus. So I'm guessing a lot of people get it free with their Disney Plus as well. So all right, so that's the ratings. NXT was about the same. They had 592. So again, I think they were like 601, 606, something like that last week. So they're holding it about the same. So we got one question coming out of the chat, so we'll call this our mailbag section. Who in the women's division do you think is eventually going to be the breakout of AEW's women's division? Like, who is going to be known outside of just AEW, not among wrestling fans?
Ooh. Who's going to break out outside?
Yeah.
My goodness. That is tough. Honestly, if you were to just throw it real quick, I think the first thing that pops in my head is Penelope Ford.
Penelope Ford. Wow.
Yep.
All right.
That's just my pick. That's just my guess, because that's something I didn't really think about. I think she can do a lot.
Yep.
She also has this. I don't know how to describe it. Actually, I actually met Penelope before. She was at a show at the Hanover National Guard Armory in Pennsylvania, which is right around the corner from my apartment, and I was supposed to work that show, but I did not. But I met her, and she was working another female wrestler, I think by the name of Gemma Cross, and she just has this ability to. She puts together really great matches. She's very athletic. She's very small, but she has a personality, and I don't think in AEW it's had a chance to shine yet because the AEW women's roster has so many talents right now. But I think one of the talents that come to my mind for breakout is someone that I don't think has done enough yet. And the first thing that comes to my mind, it's Penelope Ford.
Now that you say that, yeah, I think probably in the end, provided she sticks with it after this setback, would be Britt Baker. Is probably the one to transcend the company at some point. But We will see. It depends on what happens out of this injury.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about that. Yeah, that was really rough.
All right, so let's talk about this Double or Nothing card here. We have Best Friends versus Private Party for a number 1 contenders match on the pre-show. I am completely baffled on which direction this is going to go.
Yeah, that's why I didn't jump right into commenting. It's Private Party. I haven't seen them in a little while.
They've been on Dark quite a few times recently.
Did they? Actually, that's something also. Have they even, on this past show, did they
nope,
even?
They didn't. They did not promote AEW Dark at all. And they had 9 matches on this week's show.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, including one with Rey Fenix, a match with Marko Stunt, a match with Hikaru Shida, a match with Private Party. They did not even advertise them.
I don't know why they don't. The Private Party Best Friends. Okay, I'm excited. I guess. I mean, both teams are really, really, really talented. It's on the pre-show, the buy-in or whatever. It's okay. I mean, I don't really know how to comment on it.
Right. I think it'll be a good match.
Oh yeah.
I guess we'll throw our predictions in here and see how bad we are. I'm going with Best Friends on this one.
Yeah, I'm going Best Friends as well.
All right.
Only because, like, Private Party, I mean, they're extremely talented, but you haven't really, I mean, if they've been on Dark, yeah, but, I mean, you've seen Best Friends in and out every single week. They come into Orange Cassidy's aid. I got to go Best Friends on this one.
All right, next up we have Dustin Rhodes versus Shawn Spears. That has been officially booked.
I'm going to have to go Shawn Spears. I think they've been setting up this Cody thing really well. I think the best way, obviously, to get to Cody from this step forward is going to be to defeat Dustin. So I'm gonna go Shawn Spears.
I am too. I think it's going to probably be a brutal finish of some kind.
Yeah.
something has to get under Cody's skin. All right, next up we have a Jungle Boy versus MJF. And this one is a complete toss-up because MJF could easily lose this match, and I don't think he'd lose a thing. Right. They are still going to be heading to, I'm guessing, Wardlow and Luchasaurus either this summer or at All Out. I'm going to say it's probably going to happen either at All Out or before.
Yeah, I agree with that. MJF, you know, I'm gonna go. Oh my gosh! Because you this is tough because you definitely want to. Yeah, like you said, you want to assume that the Wardlow Luchasaurus is gonna go and take over. So, I'm gonna say MJF.
All right. I am going to go with Jungle Boy, actually.
Okay.
I think he pulls out the win. I think Wardlow and Luchasaurus may get in a little bit of a conflict at ringside, and that's enough to distract MJF to get taken by Jungle Boy.
All right. Yeah, my prediction is going to be Wardlow finds a way to get involved to destroy Jungle Boy and Marko Stunt, costing him the victory, thus setting up the MJF Luchasaurus feud.
All right. Next up, we have, if it's going to happen, Britt Baker versus Kris Statlander. If Britt is all right, but I don't think she.
Assuming they're fine. Oh man. Because I'm gonna go Baker. If she's healthy, I think Baker, looking back on some of the matches she's done in the beginning, she would always be used to kind of be the pin to help put people over in like the Fatal 4-Way matches, this and that. I think she's owed one, I think she's been working her ass off, stepping up when we were doing tapings and the women's roster was kind of struggling to get talent on the show. She would show up. I think Britt Baker is going to go over Kris Statlander.
I agree on that as well if this match actually happens, but it's not looking good. But for the same reasons, I think Britt definitely has the momentum. She's really only lost in singles to Hikaru Shida, who's the number one contender, so that would kind of make sense that she would probably take out Kris Statlander. All right, so next up we have which match should we talk about here? Why don't we talk about Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose for the women's championship? See, this is the thing I love about AEW. I don't even have a clue which way they're going to go on all these matches. I could talk myself into either person, all the matches that we've just talked about. I could talk myself into either one being a good choice. But here we have Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose, I don't think has Shida even defended the title besides she defended it against Kris Statlander at Revolution. But I don't particularly remember when she got it from Riho.
I don't know either, and one of the reasons why I also love AEW's booking is they don't do a pay-per-view every single month to where you get to see the same old song and dance, and you this has been 3 months, and honestly, I think Rose is just such a power. Nyla Rose is going to be my pick. I think she's really just. I think in order to also why I think Rose is going to win, Nyla Rose wins. You set her up as being this absolute beast and the monster she is to have a stranglehold on the AEW Women's division to eventually build someone else to take it from her. And I think that's going to bring out better competition in the women's roster. So I'm going to go Nyla Rose.
Does it jostle anything if I remind you that it is a no DQ match?
Shit! I forgot that it was a no DQ match. You know what? I've already made my pick. I'm gonna stick with Nyla Rose.
All right, I am also gonna go with Nyla Rose, even though I do want Shida to win. But yes, I believe Nyla Rose is probably going to be the winner out of this. But Shida is probably going to look still super strong, and I don't see her dropping down the card. They could go back to this that Hikaru you could keep the belt on Rose for a year without much of an issue and still keep Hikaru Shida high up the card because she is probably the best worker you have.
Absolutely
on the women's side. So, but I do think Nyla Rose is going to take that one. All right, we have Brodie Lee versus Jon Moxley. I can straight away say Jon Moxley.
Yeah, Jon Moxley's going to get his championship back, but I'm also really, really invested to see why Jon Moxley wins or how Jon Moxley wins because, like I said in the beginning of the show, I really hope that this feud exceeds past Double or Nothing. So, but Jon Moxley's hands down my favorite.
Yeah, I hope this extends out, and I'm hoping that a creeper screws up and Brodie Lee goes off the hinge through the summer. That is my hope. All right, we have the Inner Circle versus the Elite in the Stadium Stampede match with Matt Hardy as well. Falls count anywhere. There is a ring at the 50-yard line on the field.
Dude, Eric, I have no idea. It's because it's been going such back and forth. I guess a prediction. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna say since we haven't seen the Elite and they're back, baby, the band's all back together. I'm gonna go Elite, but I think that it's gonna set up a whole other thing with Kenny Omega and Hangman, or at least Hangman maybe turning the tide, maybe possibly joining the Inner Circle. But I think for the case of this Stadium Stampede match, I'm going to go the Elite over the Inner Circle.
All right, I am going Inner Circle over the Elite, and I have no idea how.
I have no idea. I've actually thought about this just in case that we were to do predictions, and I have no idea. We're all going to win. This is going to be a great match.
Yeah, I think it will be fun. I don't know what's going to happen to cause the Inner Circle to win, but I think. Actually, here's my completely out of left field prediction.
All right, hit me with it, my man.
The Revival come in and cost the Bucks.
Whoa! That is that's a pretty bold prediction there, my man.
So that is my prediction. The Revival, or whatever they're going to be called, is they are going to be the ones to come in and mess with the Bucks and pull them out of the match.
What a great... You want to talk about such an impact and an appearance and like immediately being some of the top heels. Oh my god, especially because you know what? That's a bold prediction, man. And I'm actually kind of hoping you're right on this one, man. That would be insane.
All right. We have we'll go to the Cody versus Lance Archer for the first TNT champion, Mike Tyson, to present the title. We didn't mention that Arn Anderson did call into question Mike Tyson's presence at the match. So will he come into play, or is Arn Anderson just blowing smoke to get under Jake's skin?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm looking at my predictions that I've just written down, and I'm unsure about half of these. So, Cody versus Lance Archer for the TNT Championship. I'm going to say Lance Archer. I think you've built him up to be this absolute monster, this absolute beast. I think he goes over. I think Lance Archer is the first ever TNT champion.
I believe so too, and I think it's heading to a heel turn of Cody at some point soon.
That would be great too.
All right, and the final match, the Casino Ladder match. The winner gets a title shot. They haven't said if it's a cash-in type of deal like a Money in the Bank, or if it's going to be at a certain time. I would like them, if they do this on the regular at Double or Nothing, they do this match, and then the winner gets the title match at All Out in the fall. I think if they do that every year to set up the main event of All Out, I think that would be pretty sweet. But
now,
yes.
I was going to say, Eric, since you are a professional and I am very ill-prepared, before I make my educated guess, would you have happened to know all the participants in that ladder match?
I do, thanks to Wikipedia. All right, so we have Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Rey Fenix, Scorpio Sky, Kip Sabian, Frankie Kazarian, Luchasaurus, and a mystery entrant.
Oh my god.
So, let's ignore the mystery entrant for now, because if it's somebody huge, then I would go for the mystery entrant. But if it's not, of the 8 that have been announced...
Oh my gosh. It's...
Well, who can we rule out? I think we can easily rule out Kip Sabian, Orange Cassidy, and Colt Cabana.
Not being able to select the mystery guest really upsets me, because I panicked when I saw the list of participants, and that was going to be my go-to, because I have no idea. So if I were to make a guess, I'm going to say Scorpio Sky.
All right. So I would also chop off Luchasaurus, Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky, and come down to, is it going to be Rey Fenix or Darby Allin? Those are who I have to pick between, and I think it will be Darby Allin.
Well, that makes sense considering all the promos, the lead up. You're kind of curious on what he's going to do, so it would make sense leading into this match. That's a solid pick. I really like that.
And for the bonus, who is the mystery entrant?
I also do not know, so I'm going to guess. It's supposed to be a surprise, so I'm going to say recently released Drew Gulak from WWE.
That is actually my top guess as well. But
is it?
Yes.
Wow.
But other names floated. Brian Cage, now that he is all healed up, and he was planning on coming into AEW to begin with, but he tore, I believe, his bicep. And then another recently released Chris Hero.
Ooh, boy.
I don't think anyone but Cage would have a shot at winning.
Right.
But those are the other. Chris Hero and Drew Gulak may be the entrants.
Yeah, I think it's got to be. I think it's got to be one of those, man. Especially because Gulak, like his contract expired, so there's no 90-day no compete clause. He can go.
Yep. The NXT guys had 30 days, and that is up.
Oh my gosh! I'm still gonna predict. I'm still gonna stick with my mystery participant is gonna be Drew Gulak.
All right. I think the best chance is Brian Cage.
Okay.
All right, so that's who I'm going with the extra credit here. We'll see how that goes. So all in all, we are going to have a very interesting time. For those listening, we will be doing a Double or Nothing post show at noon on Sunday after noon this coming Sunday. So be sure to check out that. All right, you have anything to say going into this card or anything that we saw on the show tonight to wrap things up here?
I have no idea what's going to happen. All the matches are very good. Nothing really seems like filler except for that private party, best friends match.
That's
but
pre-show.
Even that's just. Yeah, it is pre-show, but other than that, this is a really solid card. It's going to be a great pay-per-view. We have a couple match stipulations that I haven't seen, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. Double or Nothing 2020 is going to be a fantastic show, so I cannot wait.
Even given that there's no crowd, I agree. I think this is going to be a great show. There should be some very good matches. We have 8 matches on the main card, plus the pre-show match, so we should be looking pretty good.
I'm excited, brother. I cannot wait for Double or Nothing.
All right, so why don't you throw out any plugs that you would like people to check out?
All right. Well, you can follow me on Instagram. Again, my social media game is not on fire, but if you're feeling like following somebody, you can follow me on Instagram at DC_West_, or, and I've promoted this 100 times before, if you want to support independent wrestling, local wrestling, you can go to facebook.com/Pro Warrior Alliance. It is a small independent wrestling promotion based out of York, Pennsylvania, the same small independent wrestling promotion that I just so happen to train at and be the general manager of. So check us out at facebook.com/Pro Warrior Alliance. Shout out all my warriors.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. My name is Eric LaRoche. You can get a hold of me, Eric, at thatswrestling.com. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live. You can find it at the That's Wrestling channel over on YouTube. The link is also in the show notes. I did actually stream over to Twitch and Mixer and D-Live today on my gaming account. We'll see if anybody actually watches it, but you never know. If you're watching this over on YouTube, you can grab this as a regular podcast on all your favorite podcast apps. I'm also, hopefully within the next couple weeks, we'll start doing small news shows like 5 to 10 minutes. I'll drop them onto a different podcast feed, but they will be on the YouTube channel as well. And if you have any mailbag questions or anything like that, shoot them to Eric at thatswrestling.com. And Be sure to tune in on Sunday at noon Eastern on YouTube. We will be live doing the Double or Nothing post-show review, and we will be joined by Dave Colarusso as well, who was the co-host with me a couple weeks ago. So we'll have the three of us. So should be a good time. All right. Thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody. And we will see you next time on That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.